Welcome to MLK Manifesting the Dream, an annual program of We the World to carry forward the work and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. To learn more and get involved, please go to we.net/MLK. My name is Rick Ulfik, and I am the founder of We the World and the We campaign at we.net. We the World is an international coalition building organization that unites and promotes the efforts of people, organizations, and movements working for the common good. Now, as we honor Martin Luther King Jr., I'm excited that we will have a conversation with Diane Williams, who is president of the Source of Synergy Foundation. We will consider how the work of MLK continues to be crucial today. For example, MLK worked to address racism and expand people's civil rights. His work is really crucial now as we see mass deportation starting, targeting Black and Brown immigrant populations, devastating families and terrorizing communities. So MLK's work continues on. Now I am excited that we will hear from Diane Williams. Diane Marie Williams is the founder and president of the Source of Synergy Foundation, an organization committed to consciously synergizing individuals, organizations, and efforts by tapping into the infinite source of the collective potential to serve as a positive force for global transformation. The Source of Synergy Foundation features the Synergy Circles program and the Evolutionary Leaders Circle, representing some of the most visionary leaders on the planet. And Diane is a longtime friend, a frequent participant in the We campaign programs, and she was a founding governing board member of We the World. So Diane, could you please speak about how your work connects with MLK's longstanding concerns and society's current challenges? And welcome to MLK Manifesting the Dream, Diane Williams.
Thank you, old friend, for inviting me to this program. It's really great to be here. So I want to start by referring to Dr. King's very significant list of his fundamental philosophy of nonviolence. That's on the King Center's website that I really wish to focus on today. So I want to focus on principle 2 on this list, which is nonviolence seeks to win friendship and understanding. The outcome of nonviolence is the creation of the beloved community, and the end result of nonviolence is redemption and reconciliation. And then there's principle 3. Nonviolence seeks to defeat injustice or evil, not people. And principle 5 is nonviolence chooses love instead of hate. Very important. So our work with the Source of Synergy Foundation is about cultivating friendships and choosing love by creating synergy among individuals, organizations, and networks, as you shared, that cultivates a beloved community. And so synergy can just be something as simple as a conscious act of kindness, helping somebody in need. It could be opening the door for somebody. That's creating synergy with another person. So the Source of Synergy Foundation believes that synergy is a state of highly creative, supercharged potential, which can be activated and applied by anyone anywhere. So we can all create synergy. We're all sources of synergy. So when you come together in synergy with a family member or with friends or with colleagues and take an action together, like standing up against an injustice, again, like Dr. King's principle 3, and act not against people, but against the injustice, you are creating synergy. And also, when you do this, and all those that are taking this action with you are doing this, this is an expression and an embodiment of the beloved community and love in action. So just a little bit about Source of Synergy's mission. So in our vision statement, we state that our foundation recognizes that our essence is source, a single universal field out of which everything emerges, where we're united as one. And from this place, we create opportunities for synergy. So we can just look at all of the disturbances on our planet right now and see the effects of the human collective not operating as one. Okay, many operate as one, but many also have not quite reached that state of awareness of how important that is. So our mission is to be part of helping to create a loving and caring global community that operates as one human family, that supports the good of the whole. And we do this through various activities, like Rick, you mentioned. We have an Evolutionary Partners Network, which is made up of organizations and movements, like We the World, that wish to collaborate more closely and support each other's work and just do good together. And as you also mentioned, we also encourage the formation of synergy circles that support people in collaborating with each other on issues closest to their heart. And each of these synergy circles, we have about 25 now, thanks to Dr. Kurt Johnson, who really helped to cultivate them. They each, I believe, play a role in building the beloved community because it takes all of us to do that. So some examples of synergy circles that I think are important in the context of Dr. King's work, but obviously they're all important in terms of Dr. King's work, but I'm just going to focus on a few. One is we're just starting a media collaboratory, and Rick, I know you're a member of this collaboratory, to create a media alliance that would significantly increase our impact in the mainstream. Because sometimes I know certain groups, we reach each other, but we don't reach sometimes beyond our community, or at least not as much as we'd like to. So that collaboratory will be really focusing on creating this strong alliance to reach the mainstream. We also have a Next Generations Leaders for an Awakening World Synergy Circle made up of dynamic young people and not so young people wanting to make change together. We have a Partnership Consciousness, Gender Equity, and Reconciliation Synergy Circle that Rianne Eisler, that some of you might know. She's a renowned author of The Chalice and the Blade, and she initiated this Synergy Circle. We have a Unitive Justice and Global Security Synergy Circle, and we know Dr. King was very much into having justice. And finally, we have a Bridging Synergy Circle that engages in deep inquiry into what it means to bridge our divides. So that's our political, our cultural, our racial, our gender, our social, and our economic divides within ourselves, our communities, our countries, and in our world. And I know many of us believe that the beloved community, all 8 billion humans, can only happen when we bridge the divides among us and come to the table with others that might share perhaps a different view, but is open to working things through together for the benefit of the common good. So Dr. King advocated for dramatic societal transformation, challenging society to take a deep look at itself and have the courage and conviction to change the conditions that keep us from living the beloved community. He believed that caring, compassionate love, reconciliation, and trust should be the birthright of every being. And these values and principles should guide choices as well as policies and laws. And he believed that this love would lead to an all-inclusive spirit of being a global community that would eliminate global concerns such as war and poverty and racism, hunger, homelessness, and many other challenges, because international standards of human decency would not allow these global challenges to exist. And I know Rick and I have both done work with the United Nations, and the United Nations has been calling for the world, for a world that doesn't leave anyone behind. And Dr. King also had this same philosophy, the same belief. He once said in The Good Samaritan, "I choose to give my life for those who have been left out. This is the way I'm going. If it means suffering a little bit, I'm going that way. If it means dying for them, I'm going that way." So, what needs to happen not to leave anyone behind? What does it look like with this current crisis, the migration, immigration crisis? Is there a middle ground solution where the divides between views on this issue can be bridged and everyone will, be able to thrive in this world? And it appeared that Dr. King, after doing some research, would have taken a middle ground approach on this issue. So, in his famous letter from a Birmingham jail, Dr. King wrote, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly." That's what he said, actually. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. So he felt that when it comes to human rights and welfare, to efforts to achieve justice and a decent quality of life, no one should be excluded. King truly believed in love your neighbor as yourself. It was his view that it is people's humanity that is primary, not their nationality or geographic origins. That one's humanity and claim to human treatment cannot be diminished by a lack of official documentation, and that neither possession of documents nor the lack thereof had anything to do with the right to pursue a decent life and living for oneself and one's family. King's racial inclusivity is reflected in a September 1999 telegram he sent to Cesar Chavez, the head of the United Farm Workers. And that was a union largely comprised of undocumented immigrant workers. King wrote, "As brothers in the fight for equality, our struggles are really one, a struggle for freedom, for dignity, and for humanity." So first and foremost, we know that he would have had the same measure of concern for the welfare and security of undocumented immigrants that he had held for all people of every rank, religion, race, and nationality. That they and their children should have adequate food, shelter, clothing, healthcare, education, and suitable life chances. Though Dr. King also believed in following the law of the land. One of Dr. King's lawyers and close advisors and authors of What Would Martin Say, Clarence Jones, did state that he knew Dr. King believed that people should not violate the immigration laws of any country and would support an orderly and well-administered immigration policy that honors and respects the integrity, well-being, and right to liberty, justice, equality, and the pursuit of happiness for all people. So the United States has always been a nation of immigrants who have contributed greatly to the vitality, diversity, and creativity of American life. But we have to recognize that there has been some major issues with the immigration policy in the US and see these issues from all angles. For instance, in 2024, the Department of Homeland Security released a report detailing nearly 300,000 immigrant children are undocumented in the United States. And some might challenge that number. I know, that's a little bit, unclear. But the bottom line is there are many missing children. And according to the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, they said they have no assurance that these missing immigrant children are safe from trafficking, exploitation, and forced labor. And I'm bringing this up because I saw just a few days ago, while I was flying from New York to Florida, a few disturbing documentaries on the plane. And one was teenagers, migrant teenagers, that were human trafficked, actually from people from their country, trafficked them, and they were working on a poultry farm in absolutely deplorable conditions as pretty much slaves. I mean, they were just forced to work so many hours a day. I mean, you just couldn't believe how they were living. And another documentary showed some young teenage migrants as well working on tobacco farms and getting sick from exposure to toxic chemicals sprayed on the crops and from handling tobacco leaves. And a lot of people aren't aware of this, but when you handle the leaves, that the nicotine passes through the skin and enters the bug's bloodstream and causes nicotine poisoning. So some of these teenagers as young as 12, 13, they were very sick because working in the fields is more dangerous than smoking cigarettes. And 12-year-olds can't buy cigarettes, but they can work unlimited hours in tobacco and other agricultural fields when schools are not in session. And migrant children often don't go to schools. So they're being treated like slaves, working day and night, exhausted and sick. So obviously, these children are not benefiting from the immigration policies, nor a beloved community that protects them and cares about their welfare. So my question is, how do we depoliticize issues like immigration reform to make sure that all those that wish to seek a better life, we all want a better life, or escape violence in their community, in their country, which we know that I feel that's a sacred duty of other countries to take people in when they need to escape a violent situation. But how do we make sure everybody's protected in the process? Can people on all sides of the issue establish a common ground or a common agreement in the best interest of the whole? I think this is the only way we can truly create a beloved community, because so often we see, people holding their position, this is all right, or their position, no, this is all wrong. And is there a middle ground? And I have been pondering these issues for a while. And I feel the us versus them mentality doesn't get us anywhere. And I personally try to watch all news stations to keep an open mind and a balanced approach, because I think that is what we consciousness is all about. We really have to be open to the collective we and hear from everybody. And I know there's a lot of countries around the world that have governments that work in coalition. So maybe they disagree about how to handle global challenges, but they have to work together to come to common ground. And Dr. King embodied we consciousness, in such a beautiful way. His wish was for everyone to feel the communal spirit of the phrase "we the world," symbolizing that we can all live in the promised land that he spoke about, where everyone can rest in knowing that they will be loved and cared for, and no one will be forgotten or left behind. So I just wanted to stop there. And Rick, maybe you have, some reflections on this. And
That was great. Thank you, Diane. We consciousness coming from MLK. I totally agree. And you mentioned Clarence Jones, and you probably remember that Clarence Jones was one of the speakers at the launch of 11 Days of Global Unity, and he was
yes,
a speechwriter for MLK. And
yeah,
I it was great to hear you talking about his ideas. But we have that connection directly with
yeah,
MLK through Clarence Jones that we
yeah,
worked with. Yeah.
yeah. And then he really stressed that Dr. King often took the middle way on issues because he knew that's what had to happen in order to move forward. So
Yeah. And that was his middle way. MLK's middle way was a way of getting everybody to support what he was doing, not just white people, because he was concerned about, racism directed at Black people, but he was phrasing it in a way that was all inclusive.
absolutely. And I think that's because sometimes you do watch certain TV stations and it's not, it's like, okay, our side is the best side, our view is the view that's correct. And that hasn't gotten us anywhere. It
No,
really hasn't. So I think
it
we could
really
learn a
hasn't.
lot from Dr. King's way of engaging.
Exactly. So, given what you have said, everything you've been
Mm.
talking about, and the challenges that our society is facing now, do you have a call to action that you'd like to share?
Yes, sure. I think just, sometimes it's overwhelming to think about the global challenges in the world, but just think about simple ways that you can, create the beloved community in your home, in your school, in your workplace, in your lives. Like I said earlier, it could be even a simple act of kindness because multiply if everybody did one simple act of kindness a day, we would have a kindness culture in the world. I think take a stand when you see injustice. That's very important. Do what you can, write your congressperson, do whatever you feel resonates with who you are. I know we have people in the Evolutionary Leaders Circle that they spread powers of intention. They make an intention and they just intend that, okay, I intend that peace is going to be all over the planet, and then hold that intention. You can create a synergy circle with like-minded friends on an issue that concerns you. Maybe it's about peace, maybe it's about social justice, maybe it's about the environment. Just come together, 2, 3 people to start. They can start inviting friends, maybe meet on a weekly or monthly basis. And it's amazing how much comes out of when people come together and brainstorm how they can address social challenges. I would say another idea is have lunch with somebody from a different political view than you have and really hear their point of view. I think that's really important because we don't always have the opportunity to do that. So actually reach out. I have a college friend um, that has quite a different political view than I do. But we talk and I hear her point of view. And then sometimes I think, you know what? I get what she's saying. So, and that's why I think it's also important to watch different news stations, like I said before, to really understand how people think, because I found that it really opened my heart because before I was kind of closed to watching certain TV stations because I thought, okay, they don't hold my view. But since I started doing that, I've learned so much and I just feel more open as a person. So I really feel just these simple actions could create a tremendous ripple effect in creating the beloved community that we all wish to see in the world.
Well, thank you. That sounds great. And I've also had some conversations with people who I don't agree with politically, and I use some of my understanding of nonviolent communication. And one of the powerful aspects of nonviolent communication is that the idea that no matter what political party, culture, language, country that people come from, they share the same needs that are kind of global needs, like things like air and water, but also things like love and security and meaning, intimacy, and you know. So if you can realize that what people are doing is whatever they're doing is to meet those needs that we all share, that's a unifying way of thinking of the whole human family, right?
Absolutely. And when they conducted research on people's key values, they had people from diverse political views, but most of the values were the same. The top 10 values were pretty much the same, maybe one or two were, different ranking. And I remember I had a friend, well, my friend, Annabelle, she worked on something called the Marseille experiment in Marseille, France, where they would invite politicians and religious leaders to dinner, like I think it was on a monthly basis, but they couldn't talk about religion and politics. And they all became great friends. So, it's simple. You just meet people, their common humanity, and that's the most important thing. And like principle 3, nonviolence seeks to defeat injustice, not people. So if we don't personalize it, that's
There you go.
yeah.
There you go. So I think this has been really informative and inspiring. So thank you so much, Diane Williams, for being part of MLK Manifesting the Dream.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And you know what this is?
Yes, the we well,
The W
I'll
for
put you
people
up
who
on
haven't seen that. Yeah. So it's all about we, all of us together, right? So which is another way of talking about MLK's beloved community, right? So let's go from having a me society, right, with the me M, to a we society, and that's why we launched we.net. Sometimes I do this. I don't know if this is the right order. It should be. So it looks like a WE. Yeah, that's it. Right? We. So thank you. And thank you all for watching this as well so much. Bye bye.
Thank you.